Alright, here we are, Lone Fir, Oregon Historic Cemetery. And you can see there, that's Metro. And a lot of folks don't realize that Metro actually maintains a couple of dozen cemeteries. Now this is Friends of the Lone Fir Cemetery, and they're doing guided tours and cleanups, and they've got a different website that's actually separate from the Metro. So what we have coming right into the gates of the old Lone Fir, this open field here is called Block 14. At least they're calling it Block 14 now. And what this was is this Multnomah County Department building was built in that corner on top of this land, and total disregard for the bodies that have been buried here in unmarked graves, in large part Chinese immigrants, including also some Dr. Hawthorne's patients at the asylum having mental health problems and or impoverished orphan children. There's a lot of really tragic history here. But this field has really been in limbo and is in great need of manifesting the memorial. The Chinese immigrants and others. There's a sign up here that talks about how there could be 1,000 bodies buried in this field right now. Now there was a couple of small children, or assumed to be children, that were found that actually triggered the demolishing of deconstructing of the Multnomah County. They just built it on top of the, it's prime real estate. Forget about the bodies. So this is a different sign. There was a different sign that actually had, just a couple of months ago, that had the actual kind of circular plans for a Chinese memorial. But you can see there, they're calling it Block 14 at Lone Fir Cemetery. Many of the men buried at Block 14 helped build Oregon's railway system and the seawall along the Willamette River. I mean, these are really the architects of old school Portland that have just gone totally unnoticed, just buried beneath the ground with unmarked graves. Oregon's early Chinese laborers and merchants. Thousands of people traveled by ship from southern China to the United States in the mid to late 1800s. Many performed the most arduous tasks of building the Pacific Northwest infrastructure and economy, and were underpaid for their work. Over 1,000 of these laborers and later Chinese families were buried here at Block 14, the historic Chinese section of Lone Fir Cemetery. So that's new, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, over 1,000 of these laborers and Chinese families are laying in this field right now. You can see the crows dropping their nuts, trying to crack the morsels. That's pretty remarkable. That is news to, I think, a lot of people. Maybe I'm behind, but I remember when this came out. It's been 20 years. There still isn't a memorial built here. And there's a bond measure. It's bond measure 26-203 to fund Metro. And I'm very curious. I've tried calling Bob Stacy's office. I know he's a busy guy. He's my Metro rep. He's my counselor. I haven't connected with him yet, but I'm just one lone guy making calls. He's probably got 100 of us calling him every day. But you can see up here, the first Oregon Hospital for the Insane was located between Southeast 9th and 12th on today's Belmont and Hawthorne streets. its founder, Dr. James Hawthorne, also buried at Lone Fir, became known for the benevolent care practices unprecedented at the time. So Dr. Hawthorne is buried here. This guy was really doing things for people that had absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. No friends, no family, no wooden nickels. And this right here, that right there, this is block 12. And there's a police chief that's buried right in here in an unmarked grave. I mean, can you just see how this is just thrashed? You know, we get these vandals, just the total disregard for life and the undead. Honestly, I mean, every year it's like, whether it's vandals or just youth drinking, or flat out Satanists. I mean, you know, we got a lot of Satanists in Portland, you know, they good or bad, depending on how you interpret it. I'm not sure if there's anything good, but this right here, this is a whole nother thing here. You see this, and they've been doing some, this is, you know, there's a police chief in here that was, I don't know why they got him in an unmarked grave unless there was something going on with that guy. But that's my family tree right there. That's Joanne. We're going to finish the engraving there. So Dr. Hawthorne, which my family has suffered from mental health issues on my mother's side there for years. I mean, I've got an Aunt Nancy. Aunt Nancy's buried there. And we've got Linda, Diane. They're all gone in their 30s from major problems. So the residents of Oregon's first asylum, it's believed that more than 200 patients of the Oregon Hospital for the Insane, the state's first psychiatric hospital, were laid to rest in various areas of Lone Fir Cemetery, including the eastern part of Block 14. That's here, and this would be the eastern part. So right here, where we're seeing some gravel. Now, granted, they had some concrete and pavement in here at one point, you know. So we just keep messing with the bodies here. We keep messing with the undead all the way back to the history when this was called Mount Crawford. You have to understand, Portland was only downtown. We didn't have all the bridges. So this would be the East End. You're looking west. That's West Hills out through there. That's 20th. That's Morrison. Belmont, right down through here. This is south. So this is the East End of 14. So we're talking about a lot of asylum patients, included people who lived with mental health conditions, experienced physical disabilities, were impoverished, did not speak English, or had no one to care for them. That's remarkable. And that history got lost with Multnomah County, and they decided it's prime for a department building. And that's exactly what they did, is they built a Multnomah County office on top of these people's bodies. So they get disturbed as they're trying to decommish, and they did. Obviously the building's gone. But so Metro maintains this. All these trees here, last time I came in about a week ago, Metro was cutting these trees. So I'm going to skip right up here. I'm going to skip the family plots. Just for now. I've done, this is really way beyond me, but I gotta, my family is connected here. There's a lot of old school. I believe this is the old McClay crypt there, the McClay brothers, I believe. Now see, this is really important. Now my theme of we keep moving the bodies, right, here at Lone Fir. I mean, is that ever a good idea? I don't think so. I'm not a reverend. It depends on your religion, where you're at. I think all of us would agree it's not a good idea to move bodies around. But that's exactly what happened up here. A lot of these old pioneers, they weren't laid to rest here originally. they were down in what was Portland. That was downtown Foggy Bottom, swamp water, downtown Portland, right? This is before our immigrant friends helped build the seawall, okay? Folks here in Portland, you know what I'm talking about. There's a seawall down there. So a lot of these bodies have been moved around because, you know, I don't know if it was a scene like out of Brother, Where Art Thou, or I think that's the name of that movie, where, you know, the floods come and then the bodies all, you know, pop up. I mean, it could have looked like that. I mean, honestly, I'm not saying I know, but it could have looked like that. See, Kachiva, there is a lot of old school Slavic history here from all over the world, but I see a lot of really fancy. I mean, those are not cheap. I mean, those are that's probably 10 G's, if not more. So they're moving these bodies, and there's a lot of history, stuff like that. So Metro, this is the firefighters section, and there's the police department has, you know, they've got there's a lot of Masons buried here. I mean, the Freemasons built Portland. I don't know how much of the Freemasons built the country. Maybe a lot. I am not educated in it, but I can tell you right now, from what I'm discovering with these old Portland historical digs, is that the Freemasons, you know, they built Portland, and they were there was a couple of police chiefs, and I want to do a whole video on a couple of these, just, you know, wardens from the state penitentiary, and then become city councilors, and then they're chiefs, and then a mayor of Portland. I mean, there is some old, really, really wild, shitty history here in Portland. But this here, this I want to touch on. I'll close out on it, because I know I'm getting a little long. But caution falling objects. Holy crap, man. This is an old historical crypt here. In fact, if you log on to the OregonMetro.gov/loan-for, you'll hear that this is the Bottler tomb. And efforts are underway to restore the tomb of two trailblazers in the Oregon beer industry, brothers George Michael Bottler and George Frederick Bottler brothers. After immigrating from Germany, the brothers worked as barrel makers in Indiana, then later moved to the Pacific Northwest and established some of the area's first breweries, including City Brewery, the second in Portland. The Bottler legacy was cut short when both brothers died during the 1860s. So, you know, that sounds pretty shady. Something's going down. This is the Jones family. I mean, Walter was 3 years old. I mean, rest in peace, little buddy. Bell Taylor Jones. Here's another here. It's 2 years, man. What's that? 66 to 68. 2 years. I mean, you know, here's another one. It was very difficult. Stay alive, Martha, William. Here at the Jones. So the Jones is in here in this crypt, but I mean, look at this. Now, I don't want to jump to any conclusions that this is, you know, just huge, failed bureaucratic oversight of Metro. But look at that. Look at that. I mean, that's not okay. So, what's going on? You're going to say it's lack of funding? It's been like this. Or is it something, is there more bureaucracy? Is there the family? What's the deal? What's the deal? Can Metro not do anything to keep the rodents and everything out of there? Or is it something that a bond measure, you know, could pitch in to help restore some of these failing, neglected crypts, you know, all through here? There's a couple of them that this is probably one of the worst. But it's been like that, and that's one of the things I was asking Bob Stacy, Metro Councilor Seat 6, is it's like, hey, this 26203, where it's an appeal for bonds, raising funds, once again, hitting the property owners. But could that money finally manifest the Chinese memorial? Immigrants, refugees, and our friends that helped build the railroad systems that we use to date, infrastructure, the wall, the bridges, our Chinese families and immigrants. Now the sign is saying there's 1,000. Are you kidding? And when it went from a couple of small children found in the parking lot, you know, and that was years ago when I read that. This whole story and project has just fallen into a vapor hole. And I'm really going to do my effort to try to bring it out, bring it to attention. Yes, I've got family in recent too. Uncle Roger, we're still trying to investigate how he died, but he died just a few months ago. He was 50 something, had a pretty tragic life. But again, you know, I mean, what happened to him? Did somebody whack him, or did he? He was in a hospital, and we've got a lot of details that are missing there. And then the matriarch, Grandma Joanne, was Clark with the family, Lewis and Clark family lineage. That was her maiden name, Joanne Clark. Clark sisters married the Hallers, and that's where the families came about. But then she remarried Warren Gothard, a decorated Navy vet from World War II, who was a pharmacist mate. And he won the Victory Medal, and Warren was just outstanding. He became a hospital mate. I mean, he basically was the guy that was giving pain meds and working on the people that were blown to bits during the bombings there, 41, 43, and 44. So, you know, God bless you, soldier. Warren George Gothard, and he's right over arrest over here, like I said, block 12. So block 14, so there's that. We've got the Bottler. There is other ones. The McClay one's in shambles, the McClay family. You know, McClay Park in Northwest, and there's a whole bunch of rich heritage down there. But with that swampy, foggy bottom, they moved those folks out of there. And some of that is on the website, the Lone Fir. You know, they talk about 11th, 2nd in Ankeny or 3rd in Ankeny. So they moved those bodies, right, from downtown. So we have spirits wandering downtown the streets of Portland, right, from the old pioneers. And then you've got them up here, where you have some unsettled spiritual energy from bodies that are unmarked, had buildings built on them, and then pulled them down. The other thing I want to talk about, just briefly here, if you've ever seen the film Poltergeist, you know, right? Who hasn't? I mean, that's a classic, you know. I think it was 2 or 3 is like, the Lord is in his holy temple, right? You know, well, that whole row of houses is probably on top of bodies and graves. This Lone Fir went out further, and on the other side is Central Catholic High School. And there's even records to where there was bodies, what's now Central Catholic High School is buried upon. I don't know all the details there, but my goodness. I mean, if you've got unsettled undead dancing there, Central Catholic, and then all along these houses here, this is the edge. Well, Lone Fir, which was Mount Crawford, went out further past that. You know, if they're going to build Multnomah County Department office space there in the 1950s for 50 years, they sure in the hell aren't going to look around for the rest of these bodies that are underneath all these properties down there. So I hope you guys got a good deal on the realtor, and I hope the realtor mentioned that your home's on top of quite possibly buried, unmarked bodies. So this is a really amazing, if you look on their website, there is something like 25,000 people that are buried here. There's like 2,000 species of trees. I mean, it's turned into an arboretum. When there was Lone Fir got its name, that there was one lone fir, and it says in the northwest corner that's still standing. So This would be the northwest corner, just past this clump here. It'd be up just a little bit further, but I didn't do a wraparound on that. That'd be kind of a story in itself, but and it goes all the way back, man, all the way back down. I'm not going to do a full tour here. Wrapping it up, we've got Metro bond measure. It's 26-203. Metro maintains about 25 cemeteries among a whole bunch of other green space and things like this. And I got to tell you that if any of those funds can Block 14 finally bring this amazing memorial together for our friends, laborers, merchants, and families right here, then that's all the better. I mean, the Metro needs the bond money, period. But if it can expand projects, because I read that they were talking about expanding a couple of projects in a couple different areas. Nobody said anything about the Chinese memorial. And Bob Stacy hasn't gotten back to me, but I am saying vote yes. Obviously, on the Metro funds, I saw some people that were hollering in the voters' pamphlets saying, no. It's government overreach or whatever they were saying. He was saying that a couple people were saying that it's the government just grabbing up our property and it's saying we can't develop and build on it. Well, sorry, guy. I mean, I know you paid a few $100s to post that opinion in there, but if you look around Portland, right here's a prime example. It's just nothing but condos on top of condos on top of condos. There's been absolutely no shortage of shortchanging Portland developers from doing their magic here in Portland. That's a sorry, sad excuse and does not fly. So there is other arguments. I could, an anarchist could say, hey, why are you pitching the government, oppressive government, more money? They don't have enough? Well, listen, do we want green spaces or not? Do we want our spaces here that are nurturing the undead? We need funds for that. We need people to come in and trim and do stuff. So anyway, peace out, man. Peace out. Just doing my loan for peace. Yes, on 26-203, we got us fun Metro regardless, but let's give our counselors, Bob Stacy, I'm talking to you, my friend. Let's see what's going on. If there's any plans, where is that plan for this Chinese memorial? Right in through here. It needs to happen. Needed to happen a decade ago. But peace out.